lunchtime. If you have been putting it off, it's time to get to work. And so I'm glad you're here. That's a good sign. You're ready to get to work. And we're hoping to see hundreds, if not thousands of people wear their heart on their hand this year like this and talk about generosity, talk about the causes they care about. And I just love this community so much. This is home for me, and I love Northwest Arkansas, and I love this day. So I'm excited. And we're doing a new thing this year. We'd love for you to join us, which is inviting people with this question mark. And we're kind of launching this over the next few days on our account. So feel free to share this, but it's this idea of what's in your heart being something we're inviting people to think about, like what's the cause that you care about? What are you passionate about? And what are you going to give to on NWA Gives Day? And so we're going to have question marks and hearts up until April 8th. And then we'll, of course, write NWA Gives in there. But we'd invite you to write your organization. Maybe it's a name, maybe it's a date inside of your heart on that day. And that's okay, because we know we all have different reasons that we give and participate. So just a couple of key dates just to remind you guys. I think Carol's already mentioned some of this, but we're doing these trainings every Tuesday. And I know some of you are brand new, just registered. Awesome, welcome. Join us on these trainings. Other trainers besides me will be bringing really great content. Hopefully mine is okay too. And then on Thursdays, there's going to be this really cool Better Together, which is a networking connection time for nonprofit leaders. And then we have the deadline coming up in less than a week for nonprofits to register. So you guys are already signed up, way to go. But if you know friends, tell them March 8th is the deadline. And then we're gonna have a big virtual rally on April 6th. And this is a fun time for the media to get some images. Even though it's virtual, it's not quite as awesome as our past in-person rallies. But then leading up to the big day, April 8th, we'll have obviously 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., big giving day. So today, we are talking about social media, and specifically about how to use it for a giving day. And our team, we get to teach and consult on social media all the time, and I want to share some of the principles that we share, but I also want to dive in a little deeper than our normal and go into giving day specific social media here. And of course, if you have any questions on that, I want to answer those as well today. So in case you don't know who I am, I always like to start with that. Branches, our company, we help good makers, is what we call nonprofit leaders, share their story to the masses and raise more funds faster. That's our goal, because ultimately that leads to more impact, more lives changed. And that's what we're all about. So we've developed this online course, which a lot of the material I'm going to be sharing today is pulled from that. But if you'd like to learn more about that, of course, let us know. And then I'm a girl dad. And so literally every webinar, I have to show pictures of my daughters because they're so cute and I love them so much. And, you know, it's just like a proud dad moment. So this is Nora, Ruby, and Mabel. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover today. I wanted to give you a bit of an agenda. It looks like a lot, and we're going to move fast. But I want to start by asking some questions about social media. You know, is social media evil? And I think some people feel that way. I don't know if you guys have seen the recent documentary that I have, but it's a scary space, right? There's a lot to be aware of in social media. And I want to share with you our framework for getting results and growing your nonprofit with social media. And that's called the SICK trick, and explain what that is. And then we're going to get into some specific content ideas. I want you to leave with some real practical ideas, how you can actually create and share content and when you should do that. We'll actually talk a little bit about the call to action and what that should be through social media. And we're going to then get into influencer marketing and partnerships, which is a big opportunity for those of you who go for it with influencer partners. We'll touch on advertising a little bit. I know that that's a new topic for many of you. And so I want to at least touch on that and invite you to test it out and explore it. And then I'll hit on tools. And actually, I'm going to do that earlier on. And then, of course, Q&A and the $100 prize toward the end. So we've got a lot to cover. Let's jump in. So I first wanted to ask this question. How are we feeling about social media right now? I feel like not only this movie, The Social Dilemma, but just 2020 gave me a whole new taste of social media. And I've been literally doing social media for a career, my whole entire career, since really college. I have been working in social media professionally. And so I've had quite the relationship with it. But I was just going to ask you guys, if you put into one word, put it in the chat, one word that comes to mind when you think about social media, what is it? Like just one or two words, just curious where you're at, how are you feeling about it? I know these images are pretty negative, but maybe you're feeling positive. Terrifying, vortex, daily struggle for content, exhausting but fun. Okay, I like how you've got both sides of it there. Exhausting is mentioned twice. Necessity, community building, disruptive, unnecessary evil, addictive. Yeah, I can relate, Mary Beth. Connecting, algorithms. Yeah, there's a lot of algorithms out there. That's so true. All right, great. Thanks for participating. That was fun. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I feel about social media. I'm all over the place. All these emojis, I feel them all every day about social media. I mean, honestly. So, personally, I've got, these feelings about how excited I am. Nonprofits can really stand out here. I want to train nonprofits on how to use social media for good. And then I'll also sometimes wonder, and I know at least at first I used to wonder, like all this work that we're doing, is it actually making any difference? Is it actually working? And I know a lot of nonprofits feel that way. They put a lot of effort in and they're just not sure there's results. And then, asking, is this even healthy? Like to be in this space, I feel like, there's so much here that maybe isn't so good. And then am I being influenced too much? That some of that documentary might raise those questions. And then on the positive, I really do believe there's so much potential for good. And then of course, trolls are mean. I feel like I need to put that on there because I got trolled recently. Was not cool. Don't do that. It was funny because actually it was a really silly thing, like it always is. And I followed up with them and made a human connection afterwards, just really try to not be reactive. I slept on it, came back and responded to somebody. And they literally ended up apologizing and called themselves a troll. I would not have done that, but they said, "I'm sorry, I trolled you earlier. That and I appreciate your kindness in your response." And so that was realized. I think that these are real people, and I think she realized that I was a real person, and it turned out okay. But man, social media it's a weird space, honestly. I mean, so it seems like you're seeing that too. And so I love the words you put in the chat. I like to just simplify it a little bit and just remind you all that social media is a tool, and a tool isn't good or bad, isn't evil, it isn't a positive thing. It is an opportunity for either, really. And so if you think about a hammer, it could be used to hurt somebody pretty bad, right? You could break a window with it, you could do a lot of damage, or of course you could use a hammer to build a house or to fix something. And so a tool is neutral, right? So I think it's helpful to see social media that way, but there is a lot of risk, and there's a lot of things to be aware of personally and as an organization, as a nonprofit. And so I think you need to enter into it with that in mind, but don't let it scare you away completely. I believe there's too much opportunity to do that. So let me ask you this: on a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you with your nonprofit's social media? Would love to just kind of get a feel for where you're at. I know most of you and your organization, so I'll rank you if you want. No, I'm just kidding. But I'd love to see how you're feeling about it. 1 to 5. Don't be humble. I know there's some 5s out there. Okay, there we go. Saving grace. Yeah, way to come in strong. I was feeling that way too. 2, 5, 4, 3, 4, 2, 3. Okay, you guys are across the map. I haven't seen any 1s yet. That's good. Only 1 5. So okay, all right. So I'm seeing kind of middle ground, really. Well, there's definitely room for improvement then. And so I would love to hopefully leave you today with some practical ways to improve, especially for NWA Gives. And here's the sad thing. I mean, again, we're in this space every day. Sadly, social media rarely drives results. And there is a ... there, so I have more to say. But the reason for that is because I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are just unequipped on how to use it effectively. And social media is really, really easy to do. So it's also really, really easy to do wrong, and which eventually just leads to a lot of wasted time. And sadly, I feel like a lot of people are in it just because they think they need to be, and everyone else is doing it, but they don't really have a strategy and they don't really have a plan. And so I want to help you get there today. And the big thing I would say is social media rarely drives results when it stands alone. And so this little image is supposed to represent, I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for, but you see the cogs and the wheels, right? Like all of these are working together. If social media, is one of these cogs, it's not going to turn without the others. It's not going to spin and do its job. And so my point is it needs to be a part of a bigger system. And unless you have 100,000 followers, and there's a lot of influencers in NWA. Maybe one or two of you have that. I don't know of that, but you're going to have a hard time getting much results from social media. And even if you do have 100,000 followers on social media, you're going to limit your results if it stands alone. So what do I mean by that, and how do you build a system? Well, that's not today's talk, but I do want to share a couple thoughts real quick. This is from our course. This kind of gives you a sense of the full system that we teach. This is a framework, and we talk about your brand. It's the heart of everything is your brand. And then you got to understand your target audience and their heart. And once you do that, you need to go to the mind, which is your marketing system and really your funnel and your donor journey. Then you can start talking about, once you've got all that in place, then you can build your social media strategy, but it needs to work in conjunction with your email strategy. And your advertising strategy and your website. So all of it works together, but we don't have time for all of it today. So what I want to do is keep it super simple. Here's a basic digital system. At least consider, and I know you're stretched, right? I know you have a lot of hats that you have to wear. You're probably only a few people on your team, or maybe it's just you, and you're thinking, I just don't have time to do it all. Let me just encourage you to at least have this basic digital system, which is a social media platform that sends people to your website, that sends people to your email list. If you can at least do that, then now you've started to get the wheels turning, right? The cogs are moving. And it gives you purpose for each of these channels, right? Our purpose for social media isn't to get people to donate. I mean, that's great. You can mention that on NWA Gives Day. But our purpose year round is to drive people to our website. And our purpose for our website is XYZ. And our purpose for our email is XYZ. And so this is the basics of a digital system. Everything needs to work together, right? And you're taking someone on a journey, and it requires more than one touch point. And social media, I'll just be honest with you, isn't the best place to drive donations. People are scrolling like this. You see my thumb moving? They're just like so fast, right? They're just sliding through so fast through social media, kick back, maybe on the go, hopefully not driving, but you never know. They're just, social media is not a place where people are typically ready to pull out their credit card. What we found is email is actually better for that. And so you need to be investing in both. Social media, on the other hand, is great for building awareness. It's great for connecting, build relationships, having fun, having your brand in front of people multiple times, right? Top of mind, reminding them of things, communicating with them, getting content to spread and share. There's a lot of good value for social media, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to donations, I would say you need a bigger system than just social media. Okay, so let me ask you this question. I would love to see if you have an answer for this. It's can be rhetorical if you don't have an answer to this, but what is the number one goal of your social media? Can you answer that? I guess would be my first question. Like if you think about your nonprofit social media, if you're posting, I know a lot of you are posting several times a week or at least several times a month, some of you daily. What's the point of it all? Like if you can't answer that question, I think you got a bit of an issue that you need to work through. You need to know the answer to that question, because if you don't have a goal, then good luck achieving the goal that you don't have. So I'm seeing awareness, share stories. That's good. To share stories, that's twice now. Love that. Engage with our community so that they feel like a part of our mission. So that's great. Yeah, I appreciate that. So those are some good goals, because you're not saying we want to raise $1 million through social media. You're talking about awareness. You're talking about sharing, and that's where social media is strong. So I love that. And it helps to remember that when you go create your content calendar or plan out your post, you're like, oh yeah, this is the purpose. This is the goal. Let's focus here. And that's going to change what kind of content you use, right? So what's your goal? How does that affect your content? I'm seeing some more good comments here. Help everyone understand what we do, connecting to stakeholders, raise awareness, connect to the community. These are great. Love it. Okay. That's good. Good goals. I would also encourage you to, if you don't know, you need to also know what is the next step, right? And so that's that system. Is it to go to your website? Is it to, I don't know, schedule a phone call? Is it to join your email list? What is it that you're trying to get people to do? And so how do you measure success? So you guys all had goals. A lot of you had goals that you wrote out, but how do you actually measure that? And that's kind of a big deal. If you know what your goal is, but you don't know how to measure it, are you winning? Is there a scoreboard somewhere? How are you tracking that? So I encourage you there's a way to measure just about everything and all that you said, even the kind of, sharing stories, you can measure that. Awareness, you can measure impressions and follower count. There's ways to measure all of this. So I would encourage you to at least have 1 or 2 metrics that you're looking at on a weekly basis. If you're going to invest in social media and have all that content out there, you might as well see if what you're doing is working or not. Otherwise, you might be wasting your time, right? And need some more strategy to it. Okay, so what is the sick trick? The sick trick is our little name for social media strategy that we recommend. And I love this sick trick. If you've seen this before, don't give away the ending. That would be me on a skateboard. I think it just ran out the door. Just, no trick at all there. So thanks for watching. But this is more, Oz Trails, right? The mountain bike trick. That's a sick trick. So the sick trick for social media is to be social, be intentional, and be consistent. And that may seem a little too simple, but I'm going to unpack all 3 for you. You got to be social, intentional, and consistent on social media. And when it comes to being social, this is a principle I want to stick with you. People engage with people, not organizations. This should apply not just to social media, but to your emails, to your website, to everything you do. I see this mistake all the time. Organizations shift into corporate mode, and you think, well, I got to sound professional and I've got to have it buttoned up, and all of a sudden you don't sound like a human anymore. You sound a little too formal, and people don't connect well with that. And especially in social media. Social media is a place where people connect with people, and I mean the name is social media, so you want to be social in social media. So other ways you can be social is engaging with people. So people engage with people. What I mean by that is not only does that happen, but you should do that. So sometimes that means using your name in your post or your photos, real people from your team, right? Don't always hide under a logo or a brand name and leave people wondering, who is this back there behind the curtain? Especially for a local, smaller organization in a small community. Everybody knows everybody. We might as well, connect at a human level. And then, are you promoting all the time, or are you actually providing helpful content? Because think about a person. Again, we're talking about social media. If you were, there's actually people like this, but you meet with a person and all they want to do is pitch you on something and sell something to you. Sell. Right? That's not exactly the person you want to hang out with all the time. And in the same way, people don't want to follow you on social media if all you're doing is promoting how great you are and how they can give and how they can help you. It's not bad to say that every once in a while, but you've got to bring value. You've got to bring something interesting and exciting and helpful, educational. And we'll talk about some of those ideas here in a second. So don't make it all about you. Make it about your audience. What do they care about? And so that's why we always say you got to know your audience before you can really speak their language. So getting real practical here. How can you be social? Well, you can like and comment often. So you may have a branded account, which is not a bad thing to have. I'm not saying that you need to change your branded account to your picture and your name. I'm saying that maybe in that branded account, you should act more like a person does, which means you're using that account to go like other people's content and leave comments. And this is what I see way too often is nonprofits. They'll log into their account and they'll post an image and then they'll log right back out and never engage. And that is not how social media works. And so you need to like other people, comment, share other people's comment or content, tag people in your post. It's obvious, right? But are you doing that? Respond to the comments. Anytime there's a comment, respond 100% of the time. And then use real photos whenever possible, because that immediately makes a connection. with people. They see that, and it's way better than stock photography. If you have the photos, use the photos. And then tell stories. Obviously, there's nothing more human and relatable than a good old-fashioned story. So use storytelling to your advantage, especially in social media. And what I mean is individual stories of life change, or someone from your board, or a donor. Tell stories that will draw people in, and they'll want to be a part of the story. So what do I mean by be consistent? So there's three things that I'll highlight here. In your voice, which is kind of your writing and how you sound, be consistent. You also need to be consistent in your style visually, like in the brand and the imagery should be consistent. And then the final one I want to unpack is frequency. And this doesn't mean that you have to post the exact same day, the exact same time. It's not that rigid, but don't go a month without posting something. Don't go 2 months without posting and then all of a sudden post 3 times in a row. Get some rhythm. For one, it's going to help you to to deliver and be consistent, but it's also going to let your audience kind of know what to expect and be invited in on a regular basis. I went ahead and built this out. This is something to give you for Giving Day specifically. What is an example of a potential social media schedule? And you don't have to follow this, of course, because your organization may already be posting a different, at a different rhythm, and you already have a plan. But if you don't, maybe this would work for you. For the few months out, I'd say, and this is not just all posts, this is just about NWA Gives. Maybe you're posting bi-weekly about it. And then now, which is about a month out, maybe you post about it every week to start getting people thinking about it. And then in that last week before NWA Gives, maybe you're posting every day about it. And then on the giving day, maybe it's multiple posts throughout the day. Really, you can't do it too much that day because you want to flood people's feed to remind them that this is the day. And you're not going to do that every day. But on big giving days, it's okay. And so one thing you might be wondering is, oh my goodness, should I just post the same thing over and over again about NWA Gives? Of course not. Do not post the NWA Gives logo and say, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, every time. You need to get creative or people will tune it out. So with all of these posts, hit it from different angles. So that core message that we developed in the very first webinar, I talked about this. This core message about how you're going to, talk about your goals and how you're going to, the impact is from your campaign. You want to talk about that from a lot of different angles. So maybe once it's, the countdown, we're only 10 days away, but maybe the next time it's talking about a story of someone that was impacted because of last year's NWA Gives, or maybe it's a vision that you cast for the future of what will happen because people have given to NWA Gives. Maybe it is a board member spotlight, and then you talk about how you have a board match for NWA Gives. So do you see what I'm doing here? You're coming at it from different angles, and you're inviting people into the story. Maybe it's a heart on your hand or the question mark on the hand. And so don't just do the same thing every time. Copy and paste that template. I know that sounds easy, but get creative, use stories, use real people. And maybe the only thing about NWA Gives is the call to action at the end. Maybe it's a story, it's something about you or your audience. And at the very end, you remind them, NWA Gives is coming. We'd love for you to participate and give them that call to action, which I want to talk about in just a moment. So here's some ideas. I know this is a lot, but I know when I talk to nonprofits, they're like, oh, that principles and strategy sounds great. What actually do I post? Well, okay, here you go. Here's some ideas. If you're feeling like creative, dry and don't have any ideas, this can get you started. So, and I could come up with 100 more. And if you're struggling, what I always say, if you just don't know what, to come up with, it's probably because you're trying to figure it out at the last minute and come up with an idea. So instead, take an hour of your time, get more than one person in the room and have a brainstorm session, get creative, right? And then make a long list of ideas. And when we do that, we're able to think of, 50, 100 ideas for content. And then you narrow in on your favorites and build a schedule for what you're going to do on social media. And so I can't really unpack all of these ideas, but I picked a few to talk about. So free resources are a great idea for social media. And I highly recommend using your website to promote those, because then you can have people go to your website to get those, maybe even join your email list so that you can grow your email list, which again, kind of completes the circle of that digital system I mentioned. But free resources are great because people share them, people are drawn in by them, they're really helpful, and they can demonstrate your knowledge and expertise in a topic. And then I want to highlight an organization that I worked with 2 years ago on NWA Gives and has done a phenomenal job of this. And if you want an inspiration, I don't have a slide about this, but OHC, Our Healthy Communities, if you go to their website and go to their blog, I'm so inspired by the work that they do. Their name used to be something else, but it's Our Healthy Communities. And so go Google Our Healthy Communities, Northwest Arkansas. Their blog, they do a fantastic job providing free resources for the community that their donors, their social media followers are going to want to read. It's not all about them. It's about helping people, right, through their content. And they post those on social media. So they do a great job. How-tos, obviously draw people in. How can you help people do something that they're interested in doing? Live video is a great engaging format for people on Facebook or Instagram. And then I love, like I said, photos of real people. So clients and donors are often some of my favorite ways to go. Obviously your clients or the people that are receiving your services, they make great stories. Obviously get permission and make sure they know that you're going to be sharing this with your social media. And if you need to, have security protocols, that's really smart. You should do that. But don't let that hold you back from sharing those stories. That is why people join in, right? They want to see their faces. They want to hear their stories. And I encourage you to invest in doing it well. Like hire a photographer or find someone that's really good at photography or video. Go meet with that person and spend an hour or two taking professional photographies, professional video, and then use that to tell these stories on social media and tell it. You can use those over and over again too to really retell that story and make sure everybody hears it. But the one that's often overlooked is photos and videos of donors. And I want to encourage you to consider this because in your attempts to fundraise, this is actually going to help your potential donors see themselves in the story, right? They're actually going to relate better to your donors, to your board members, to people that give monthly. They're going to relate to them. They're going to see themselves in that, right? Versus maybe they don't relate to the people that you serve for whatever reason. And so tell those stories too. Their lives have been changed as well. Those are impact stories, just like the ones from your clients. And then, maybe you just need to make a straightforward ask and ask people to give. And I know some of you do that too often on social media, but some never do that. And I think it's okay, especially on NWA Gives Day, to make it clear that you're fundraising and you need people to give. And I think a video is a cool format for that. Recording a little video of yourself or someone on your team, just sharing a story and then making the ask or the invitation just really clear. So these are just a few ideas. Hopefully that helps. I'd love for you to get creative and post new things on social media. I wanted to share a few tools because I always get this question. What are your favorite tools for social media? These are the ones that our team uses. There's a lot of others out there, right? But these are just our favorites that I can vouch for. We use Canva for design because it's really easy. You don't have to be a designer. We usually start with Adobe and then we translate those designs into Canva, but you don't have to do that. There's great templates. You can customize it to your colors, which you should, and your fonts, which you should, so that it's on brand. But Canva is great. Animoto is what we use for video. It's really easy to make short, effective videos for social media, which videos perform great on social media. We love Unsplash for photography if you do need to use stock. Loom is a great tool to record video and screencast and super easy to share those. Gradavid is a local company here that I love. They help you create really compelling donor videos that say thank you or that invite people to give. And you can do that in a really sophisticated way. And so I highly recommend you looking at Gradavid. And then Later is great for social media scheduling. And there's a lot of tools for that. Believe me, there's several others. But we like that. And then Milanote is a brand new tool that I've been introduced to, which is great for mood boards and campaign planning and kind of mapping out this strategy and our audience. And here's how we're going to do it. It's kind of great for a creative director role. So what is the right call to action? And this is an important question because you always need a call to action. And one of those things is And I would say almost every one of your posts needs a call to action. And that doesn't mean it has to be in your face, like, demanding that they call to action. But if someone was intrigued by your post and they read all the way to the bottom and then you leave them with no next step, then it's kind of like you're missing an obvious opportunity, right? So it doesn't have to be in their face, but I think an invitation to a next step. So maybe that call to action is simply to go to your website, to read the full article, to click on the link in your profile, whatever that may be. But you always need a call to action. When it comes to NWA Gives, I have a favorite for this because it's a little tricky. You can't ask them, you can, but you shouldn't necessarily ask them to donate today, right? Or March 30th, when you're talking about NWA Gives, you can't ask them to donate, right? Because it doesn't start till April 8th. So what do? Well, my recommendation, and I've seen this work for several organizations, is to do a text reminder. And so what this means is you have some way to capture phone numbers and invite people to sign up for a reminder. So you say, hey, NWA Gives is coming up on April 8th. If you'd like to participate, can we add you to our list and send you a reminder on that day? Here's why I like that. For one, they're almost kind of making a pre-commitment to a gift, but they don't have to log on. They don't have to click anything. They can just say yes. All they have to do is say yes and maybe give you their phone number. And then they've kind of already committed to making a gift that day at that point, which is great. And then number two, on April 8th, you have to now follow up with them, send them a text message. There's a lot of ways to do this using technology or other ways, but send them a text and remind them to give on the big day. And that is super helpful because text message open rates are way higher than email. And I'm a big fan of email, and you should definitely send emails on April 8th and leading up to it. But you should also collect a list of people that want to be reminded and then send them a text on April 8th. So what we've done in past with some of our clients that have worked with us for NWA Gives is, for a month in advance, we're saying, hey, we send an email. If you want to participate, click here and let us know, and we'll send you a text reminder or sign up for a text reminder. And one of my clients used a system, their CRM, and they built that out. And so they collected their text messages, and then the day of, it was all organized and ready. Another person just said, email me your phone number and I'll text you. They got over 100 phone numbers, which was fantastic. And they passed their goal in the first like 4 or 5 hours. So it worked. But I would say either way works. The point is just get people to sign up for a text reminder. And then on that day, and really the last couple of days, you transition your call to action in social media and in email to give today or give on April 8th between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Right. So those are my recommended calls to action. You can obviously do what you want. What I normally see people do before April 6th is, save the date. And here's my issue with that. Is anybody actually doing that? Like, is anybody actually like going into their calendar right now and putting it on there? Like maybe a few, but I think you'll get a better response from people that actually ask for a text reminder. So that's my favorite. And then obviously ask them to give on April 8th. Okay, I'm going to pause, take a sip. Any questions? I'm going to check the chat from what I've said so far. Again, we'll have some more Q&A at the end, but. Okay, Audrey asked what app do you use for the text reminder? Oh, there's a few options out there. Some are free and most aren't. I think there's something called Google that was mentioned on a previous webinar that was like Google Voice or maybe Google Text, and you can mass text from that. A lot of CRMs that our clients have used have that feature, or email tools. So it really depends. Like we've used several. And so I would just do a little search and find Google it and see what you can come up with. And then I don't have a slide about this, but I also recommend if you do have a long list to text, you could also do a textathon where you bring your staff and your board members together and you have a list, and here's the 200 people that want a text reminder, and you text these 20, you text these 20, you text these 20. And then, and what's cool about that is you can tell it's personal. It doesn't feel it's quite so robotic. It doesn't have this, you can opt out of this by texting no, and this is blah, blah, blah. Like it feels very personal, like a human actually texted me. And I think people will respond even better to those. And it's a fun way to get your board and volunteers involved in NWA Gives, because anybody can go and text a list of people and just copy and paste and text. So If you don't have a system and you don't want to pay for a system, that works just as well. And it's a little bit grassroots, but I love the scrappy efforts that people have taken. What do you like about Later as a social media scheduling platform? I just like that it allows you to visually see how your Instagram feed is going to look and plan out your content and collaborate with others. And again, there's several other tools that allow you to do that. But if you're collaborating on that, you've got a copyright, like our team, we have a copywriter, a designer, a strategist, and we all want to look at the content together and plan it ahead of time before we actually publish it and schedule it. And so Later allows you to do that. Okay, well, if you have any other questions, we'll have some more time at the end. I want to jump in real quick to influencer marketing. And I believe this is an opportunity to maximize your social media. And you may just be wondering what in the world is influencer marketing and partnerships. And so it's just a strategy to grow your reach by inspiring, partnering with, or paying influencers who have established platform to spread your message to their audiences. And I would say this, if you can pay them, you should pay them. But there are other ways to bring value to the table that makes them feel like it's worth it. And ultimately, the point is you want it to be a win for your influencer partners just as well as your nonprofit. And so let me also say this, an influencer doesn't have to be a social media influencer. It could be a church, it could be a company, it could be an organization, a radio host. There's a lot of influencers in Northwest Arkansas that are not just social media influencers. But there are also a lot of social media influencers that can easily get your message out there in front of hundreds of thousands of people. And so I want to encourage you to consider that as a part of your strategy in your campaign. In case you're wondering what this is, and maybe you've heard a lot about it, it's blowing up. I mean, influencer marketing, as you can see, is just getting more and more attention. This is interest over time measured by Google. But you can see people are talking about this. And the reason is it's because it's really a shift from a few stakeholders having the keys to influence everybody through media, like big media companies, to now thousands and millions of people can have influence. And so there's micro and macro influencers, and there's all of these different mini celebrities that have all this influence. And it's a big deal, and brands are taking notice, and nonprofits should as well. Here's a few examples actually from a couple of years ago that I had handy of nonprofits that took advantage of influencer marketing. So you can see here that the Happy Egg and the NWA Children's Shelter partnered up on the far left, and they had so much fun with that campaign. I loved it. Happy Egg, national brand, they promoted this and promoted NWA Children's Shelter. And then I loved how Ability Tree partnered with a local Salem Springs coffee shop, Poor John's, who has a big following. And they did a funny video and talked about NWA Gives. And so they got creative. It wasn't just like a advertisement that they just said, give on NWA Gives. Like both of these people, NWA Children's Shelter, Happy Egg, and then Ability Tree and Poor John's, they both got creative. They used the platform of the partner, Poor John's, Happy Egg, but they did something fun and engaging, right? It wasn't just like a promotion that just had the NWA Gives logo and said, give to your favorite, give to our nonprofit. It was very entertaining and interesting. And then Onyx did a cool thing where they actually did a giveaway, and they have a massive following. And they said anybody that gives to Canopy NWA has an opportunity to enter into this giveaway. So that was a cool idea. And then finally, Jazzy J NWA, they partnered with Havenwood, and they have a couple times. And I love that because they're so passionate about the cause, and it's really authentic, and they share about that in multiple ways. So if you're just wondering how to go about this, I tried to keep it super simple and give you these 3 steps. First, step 1, make a list of potential allies. And at first you may be thinking, I can't think of any influencers that I know or that care about our cause. I don't know where to start. And so I would say, talk to your board, talk to your staff, and see if anybody knows anybody. So it could be friends of friends, relationships that you have, or go through your Instagram or Facebook and see who's following you and who likes you. And maybe you'll find someone on there that you didn't realize has been paying attention, or maybe they've shared your content and you say, oh, wow, maybe they would want to partner with us. And so make as long as a list as possible. And maybe it's someone that you've never met or no one's ever met, but you know they're out there, and you just kind of want to cold call them or reach out, cold DM them, because that's how a lot of this happens, by the way, is DMs on Instagram. But I would encourage you to go for it. The worst they can say is no. And then find the wins. Step two, find the wins. Like, what are they getting out of this, right? Is it just because they like your cause? That's one great reason for them to do it. But if you're able to pay them, or if you're able to maybe give them a cool experience or some special content, if you have a space, maybe they can get a tour and they can do a live video of your space, or maybe they can interview one of your clients and tell a story, or maybe they interview you and get exclusive content for their followers. The point is, like, give them something fun that's a win for them and for their audience, because their audience needs to win also, because these influencers, they want to protect their audience and make sure it's good content for their audience. And then I would also say, approach with clear ideas. So come to the table with maybe a couple ideas, like, here, you could help. What if we did this? Or what if we did this? But also come with open hands by coming and saying, I would love to hear your ideas too. So that makes it either really easy for them just to take what ideas you have, or for them to get creative and come up with something even better. You're open to that as well, because some influencers will want to do that, and others will just say, just give me the post, I'll copy and paste it, I'll share it for you, no problem. But they don't want to think about it. So you kind of need to have either or approach. And then number three, just obviously execute and measure results. And I always encourage you to measure results. And maybe you talk to the influencer about helping you with that. Can you tell me how many people saw that? How many people clicked on that? And that kind of thing. That way you can just get a gauge on, did it work? And did we get new followers? Did we get any gifts because of this? And I can tell you that there was at least one partnership with NWA Gives where I know an influencer gave a really compelling, heartfelt live video to hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm not going to tell you who this is because I'm afraid everybody's going to go ask them to do this for them. But it was really, I was really moved by it. It was really personal and passionate, and their followers from around the country showed up and gave to this NWA nonprofit. I don't know how much exactly, but probably thousands of dollars. And so it can really work if you can make an authentic partnership, someone that cares about what you're doing, and make it a win-win. Okay, so just to help you out, we at Branches, we've got this little influencer marketing toolkit that just gives you a few things that just kind of help you get started on ideating and making it. We've got a checklist, an influencer marketing checklist, and a little video that Mallory on our team made, and a how-to template as far as how to approach them. Just again, make it real simple, because some people kind of get not sure, they get stuck, not sure how to approach an influencer. We created this little kit. So you just go to brancheslab.com/influencers if you want to download that for free. And you can go grab that, and hopefully it'll be helpful. And not just for NWA Gives, you can use this year round. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about really briefly is advertisements, because this day and age, social media, especially Facebook, it's kind of a pay to play environment, which means if you really want a lot of people to see and engage with your content, you probably have to invest money in it. I mean, after all, Facebook is a business, and their business is driven by ad dollars. And so they're making it more and more difficult for people to get your engagement and your audience to see your posts without actually ever spending any ad dollars. And gone are the good old days from 10 years ago where you posted and everybody saw it. Like, that's just not how it works. And so you need to, if you haven't already, start developing this muscle. Advertising isn't something you can learn overnight, but it has a lot of potential. But here's what I always like to remind you, that social media advertisements can be a huge waste of money. They really can, but they also can be a big opportunity. And the reason is because they make it really easy for you to spend money and spend as much as you want. So with a few clicks in a few minutes, you can start an ad and launch an ad out there, right? But here's the thing, that easy, two-step method is probably not going to work very well. It was, too good to be true. And so Facebook has tried so hard to make it super quick and easy for you to do that. But I just want to warn you that that might not be the most effective way. So in case you don't know this, there's, if you're just on your Facebook page and you hit boost a post, or you go do an ad, you're going to be using kind of their basic plug and play methodology. Well, there's a whole nother platform for advanced advertising called Facebook Ads Manager. And to go to that, you just go to facebook.com/ads manager. And with that, you have so much more power and flexibility in your audience and who you're targeting and your creative and all of that. and you're able to start using the best strategies to get good results. But you can't learn it overnight. It's not something that you're going to instantly figure out. So the best way to learn it is, for one, partner with people that are experts in that, or two, just start learning and try it out and test it out and practice. And so I think NWA Gives might be a good way to do that. I wanted to share with you guys 5 principles for effective advertising. And this, again, doesn't just apply to NWA Gives, but all online advertising. So number 1, you always need to be thinking through this process of experimenting, iterating, which means just making something, a little tweak, a little change, and then find what works and scale that, and then repeat that cycle. And then target the right audience, which is one of the most important things you can do, is find the right audience to your ads. And Facebook, which owns Instagram, Facebook and Instagram, as well as Google, they have super powerful targeting options. And so do LinkedIn, and so does Pinterest. So with those platforms, you can target people down to the city that you want to reach, down to the demographics and their interest based, and even the people that have shown interest or been to your website. And all of that is very powerful if you know how to use it. And it allows your ads to be more relevant and interesting and get people's attention that actually care, right? And that is probably the most important factor in an ad. Actually, I would, most people think, oh, is the image right, or is my text and my headline right? But actually, the more important thing is your audience, the right audience that you're targeting. So consider the journey. That's another thing, is a really big deal. If someone's never heard of you before and they see an ad that tells them to donate, they're probably not going to. They're like never going to do that, right? So think about like, what's the first step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And so maybe your ad, if it's going to a new audience, doesn't need to be asking people to donate. It needs to be asking them to get this free resource or something that's more attractive to them, right? Okay, so think about the journey. And then set the right goal. Like, is your goal awareness? Is your goal new followers? Is it email subscribers? Or is it donations? Which, again, it's all about that journey. And then obviously you do want creative that catches people's attention and stands out in social media. And maybe doesn't look like an ad, because if it looks like an ad, immediately they might be turned off from that. So I'm going to show you this again. I mentioned this: experiment, iterate, scale. This is huge with online advertising. And the point is, you're learning, you're getting better every time. Every experiment, you A/B test something. This audience versus this audience. Okay, this one worked better. Let's focus on that one. Okay, now this one versus this one. This picture versus this picture, or this video versus this video. You're experimenting, you're constantly changing. So I think, if you're wondering, should we advertise with NWA Gives? I think it's a good idea, even if you've never done it before, because this is an opportunity to experiment, to learn and try some things. You don't have to have a big budget. You can spend a couple $100s and probably expand your reach quite a bit. So I would love to see people spend $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000. But even if you just have $100 or $500, try it out. See if you can get a better reach. But I would encourage you, again, maybe don't just direct people straight to the donate button, because that may or may not work. Unless you're targeting existing fans, then it might work, or existing email subscribers by uploading your email list. And then the next bullet point says use a custom or lookalike audience. And if you don't know what that means, you might need to dig into this, but a custom audience is where you're able to actually upload your list, your database, or you're able to target people that have liked your page or went to your website if you have a pixel installed. And then a lookalike audience is where Facebook takes that and builds a bigger audience that has similar attributes. And that is a really powerful tool. And then finally, drive to a clear and measurable call to action. Don't just promote without being able to track if it worked. And so I think an advertisement should have a clear call to action, and then you should be able to measure, are we happy with the results? We spent this much and we got this much results. Was that a good investment? Do we want to do that again? Do we want to spend twice as much? You have to measure to know. Okay, we're just wanted to say this is just the tip of the iceberg. Advertising is on our course. We have a module dedicated to this, and it is our biggest module. Like, we have it's just so much content, because there's a lot to learn on advertising if you want to be effective at it. So where can you go deeper? Of course, I'll make a plug for our online course. This was module 8 in our course. And we also have a module dedicated to social media and one dedicated to email. And I think it could be really helpful for you if this is something you want to get better at and grow your online audience and your reach. Okay, I wanted to remind you of these key dates again, in case you joined late and missed these at the beginning. Make sure to join us for the webinar training every Tuesday. And don't forget the rally on April 6th. And of course, the big day on April 8th. All right, I want to save a few minutes for questions. So, and then I know we have the giveaway announcement. Carol, maybe I'm going to start answering questions. If you want to hop on and announce the winner whenever you're ready, go for it.
Is there anybody left who hasn't put their name into the chat, their name and organization? If you haven't, could you do that now while we answer questions, and then we can do the draw?
Yeah, great idea. So Jenny's got a question. Do you recommend one influencer or more, if that is an option? I would say really the more you can have, the better, but I would obviously say a deeper partnership is ideal. So not just like, hey, would you repost our Instagram post, and they just literally just hit share and that goes out to the world. That's not going to really move the needle very far. So I would rather go deeper with one than have 5 just share one post, you know. So go deeper by getting some creative partnerships together, doing a video together, having them share multiple times and in multiple ways. You know, get creative, think of something that's interesting to them. I always love an interview format where you get on together. Maybe you go on to Zoom and have a conversation and then record it, and then they post it on their social media. Maybe they do a giveaway like Onyx did. I think that's a really fun way. So if you're able to go a little deeper and in terms of like they're doing more to promote it, then just one, it could be enough if they have a good engagement and good following. And the two things to measure an influencer by, not to make it to all business, but you obviously want a lot of followers, but you also want engagement, because some people have a ton of followers, but no one ever is actually paying attention. They've got very few likes, very little comments, very little shares. So on the reverse, a micro influencer may only have 5 or 10,000 followers, but they have a ton of engagement, lots of comments, lots of likes. That's a good sign and a great partner. So, all right, looking at the questions again, hopefully that was helpful. Let's see, I don't see another question. Carol, you said, can you say a few words about tags? Do you mean like hashtags, Carol?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so hashtags are one of those things that sometimes they're pointless, and sometimes every once in a while they can be effective. And so I like to encourage you to use them, but don't overthink it. There's some great tools out there that are free that help you come up with hashtags. But kind of the sweet spot in hashtags is to use obviously hashtags that are relevant, but that have other people actually following those hashtags. And so if you use a huge hashtag that has 10 million posts a day using the hashtag, then no one's going to see your post because it'll get lost in the shuffle. But if you use a hashtag that literally no one's ever used before, like you come up with it on the spot, then no one's going to see it because of that hashtag either. I mean, unless you're just trying to be funny with the hashtag, that's great, but no one's going to actually see it because of that. So the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle. I think hashtag NWA Gives is a great one. You should use it every time if you want. You can use hashtags that are local. Hashtag like if you're in a biking organization, use hashtag because Bentonville or bike Bentonville. I mean, that's something people follow, or Oz Trails. These are types of things that there's a small group of people that are relevant, that are actually paying attention, and that might help you get a little more visibility. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. There's some good articles out there. If you're interested, follow up with me. I can help point you those if you want to learn more about hashtags. Any other questions before we announce the winner? I think we've got a few more minutes. About social media, about influencer marketing, advertising. Okay.
How about tagging other people, Jesse, or other organizations? Does that?
Yeah, okay.
work?
I would say anytime there's a reason or irrelevant reason to do that, you should tag people because it sends them an alert, helps them see it. Obviously, you don't want to spam people with tags, as in like every post you're tagging the same person, it's really irrelevant for them. I don't think that's a good way to communicate to an influencer, like just tagging them and hoping they see it, unless you've already talked to them and you say, hey, I'm going to tag you. But if it's just cold out of the blue, it's going to be kind of random for them. But if you have a relationship with them or a partnership in some way with a sponsor, or maybe someone's in the post, then yeah, definitely tag them. It's a great way to get their attention. It doesn't mean they're going to do anything with it. It might not help you at all, but it might. So can't hurt. I'm seeing a question from Laura. How do you balance being both professional and personal on social media? Ooh, great question. I would encourage you to, go back all the way to something that we always start with, which is your brand personality, and make sure you really understand, like, is our brand one that is funny or carefree, or are we professional and, really more sincere, or like, what are our brand attributes? And once you've got that defined, then you really want to be that way everywhere. And even though social media is a little more casual, people kind of expect that you can get away with that, your brand might not be. And so you have to keep that in mind. I would say that, for instance, on Instagram, well, at Facebook too, your posts typically are a little more polished, but your stories can be a great place to be more raw and unfiltered, undesigned, just kind of quick videos, not designed professionally or anything, just post it up there, because those come and go pretty quickly, the stories. And those, so you don't necessarily have to design something for them. People don't care. They're not expecting that. And in fact, it's a great way to connect at a more personal level through your stories. But maybe your posts are well designed and professional, and your stories are more raw and personal. That's just one option I see a lot of people do. But I think you need to kind of talk to your team about that, Laura, and think about, like, what makes sense for us. You want to connect with humans and show people. And so I think the good news is, I think you can be both. I think you can be very professional, but also very personal and relational oriented. And one way to do that is just use photography of real people, use names, use quotes, because people sense that they're connecting with real people and not just a brand that is, not human in nature. Great question. It's a balance that we all kind of have to, strike with our accounts. Any other questions? I don't see any coming in, and it's one. So Carol, do you want to jump on and announce our winner?
Absolutely. Okay, everybody. Quick reminder that this post will be on our website, NWAtraining.com. So you can find that, as well as any other webinar that you've missed. So you can do that. And then now I'm going to draw a name. Okay, we have Josh Willis from Fayetteville K-Life. Hey, Josh, are you still there? Is he there? If he's not there, he doesn't win. Josh.
Come on, Josh. Oh, he put in the comments that he's here.
Okay, awesome, Josh. So this will actually show up from First Security, who is our sponsor. Yay, First Security Bank. And they will send this to you at the completion of NWA gives. So that will be sometime towards mid to end of April. Yay. Our next training next week is on using your key advocates. So I hope you'll join us then with Allison McElroy. So you'll have another new face for you to learn from. And then on Thursday, if anyone wants to come join us, we'll be on here for just an open sort of discussion about where you are in your fundraising, what you need help with. So I hope I'll see you then. Until that time, have a great week.